Hey, Sneaky Sneaker, this is the TvZ and the Master... No, not the Master League, the Silver League. Silver League, I'm so used to saying Master League as me, Nick. Here we go. Let's see. See, this is good. This is good. So remember, you were complaining a lot about worker harass, but this drone has to walk all the way from his base to yours. That's 40 seconds he's not mining, and then he has to walk all the way back. That's another 40 seconds he's not mining. So if you're annoyed by worker harass, just pull 2 workers like you did, and you know, nothing one worker can do against 2 workers. Sorry. So obviously you don't chase him with 2 workers forever, but you make sure to get this guy repaired and just make sure you can get your racks up with one of the workers while the other worker chases the drone, and he just goes home. And now you had 2 workers not mining for the 10 seconds it took to repel that drone, and he had 1 drone not mining for about 120 seconds to walk all the way up and back. So you come out pretty far ahead by just, you know, overreacting to the worker harass and not screwing your build up. So I'm not sure what build you're going for. I suspect upgraded Marines with medevacs because that's a great build and everybody likes it. But we'll see, we'll see, we'll see. I'm at 6 minutes. We're going to stop and see if you're immune to 7 roach rushes, because that's scary, them 7 roach rushes. It's the easiest build in the world, and it's extremely successful, especially in lower leagues. I mean, I've always said every TvZ build has to be immune to a 7 roach rush at 6 minutes, but recently I read on Reddit that when Destiny coaches people, he's like, just learn the 7 roach rush. That'll get you to Platinum League. Do it. Like, I'm not even going to teach you anything useful. Just learn this build that everybody already knows that you could have Googled, and that'll, yeah, I'm like, okay. I understand that there's no need to do a different build until people can hold that build off, which is not going to happen. But anyway, so yeah, at 6 minutes, you obviously couldn't have held off a 7 roach rush, so you failed. This build is a failure. What I want from you is a bunker with 1 Marauder and 2 Marines, and then anything else you want. You can have 100 other Marines like you do if you want, but get that Tech Lab and that Marauder out. And Marauder's build time is 30 seconds. Tech Lab build time is 30 seconds. So that means 1 minute before 6 minutes. That means at 5 minutes you have to be starting your Tech Lab. So make sure you start a Tech Lab by 5 minutes, and then you'll be immune to the 6 roach rush. Done. Tech Lab and bunker at 5 minutes. So now you've gotten a bunch of gas, but I don't know what you're doing with it. You threw down a factory. There's no engineering bays. There's a heck of a lot of supply depots in the front. I'm really worried about this. The number of supply depots in the front, because it's important to wall off, but I hate walling off exclusively supply depots. Because if he knocks all of these down, you're supply blocked for the rest of the game. Like, you're just out. You lose. And you're going to lose your wall a lot. And it's nice when that wall is made up of 2 engineering bays. Like, if you lose your engineering bays, so what? If you lose a factory and you still have the rest of your production facilities, it's not a big deal. So, engineering bay, factory, depot, and then you're done. You know, that way you have stuff that you don't mind losing, because you want to assume that your wall is always going to die at some point. Not always, but you know, pretend that it is. Engineering bays are up, but the upgrades are not started. 470 gas, 700 minerals. Supply blocks, basically. Okay, so he did knock down a bunch of depots, but he didn't do it very well, so he easily crushed that. Good job. Look at that. He just spent 1,500 bucks doing nothing. That's cool. You can't really count on that happening very often, though. Most people aren't that stupid. Stupid. I like when you end stupid with the T and then stupid. So checking 10-minute benchmark, you have 50 workers. That is awesome. 50 workers is great for 10 minutes. Your army should be at least 22, and it's not. And it's pure Marine as well, which is, you know, really scary, because, I mean, especially at 10 minutes. If he came with a $4,000 army of roaches, he would kill you. If he came with a $4,000 army of Roach Baneling, he would kill you. If he came with a $4,000 of Roach Ling, or just Ling Baneling, he would kill you, he would kill you, he would kill you, he would kill you. Pure Marine only works if you have stim and combat shields and upgrades and at least 3 or 4 bunkers. Obviously, he's not doing any of those things, so you're actually going to come out ahead by not being able to defend against those sorts of rushes. Because luckily, those sorts of rushes didn't happen, right? And that's cool. But I just know you're going to play a bunch more games doing stuff like this, and then you're going to send me a game where you get killed by a 10-minute, you know, Ling Baneling all in. And you're like, "Well, what could I have done?" And it's like, you know, expect it. That's what you could have done. So siege tanks and siege mode, this is kind of weird because I think you were like this, I don't know, I guess you're going marine tank, so it's not that weird. The double engineering bay is what makes me feel like this is weird. And building armor. I mean, building armor is a good upgrade. It's great when they go mutas. It's not good if they don't go mutas. So you shouldn't just be building it blind. You should be building it in response to seeing mutas. And you don't see mutas, so don't do it. Don't do it, bro. Don't do it. Getting ready to secure your planetary fourth. This is a really small army, especially for 12 minutes in. And he Nidus. Did he Nidus? I thought I just heard a Nidus, but I didn't. This only has 2 guys on it. This is kind of inefficiently mined because of that turret. I'm okay with it, but I'm just letting you know. Building a turret in there is gonna screw up the mining. And this is massively oversaturated, but you're getting your third now. And pre-spreading at your third, this is good. Oh, I love that. Look at that spread, and then you hold position it, siege up the tank in the middle. You're gonna secure this. This is great. I like it. I like what you're doing here. If you would transfer workers, I would like it a heck of a lot more. But your main's basically immune to damage. Your third is, you know, if they die, and they probably would if they got attacked, but they're gonna trade really well. Like, they're gonna get you a big chunk of money as they go down to Ling Baneling or even Infestors. Not constantly using the eBays. If you're going to go double engineering bay, you've got to constantly be building out of them. And I see that you bound it into your control group 3 so that you'd be able to remember to remind yourself to constantly be upgrading, and you still didn't do it. Still forget to upgrade even though it's in the same control group with your workers, which you're constantly making. You're so far ahead at this point that it's ridiculous. Your opponent opened with a Ling Baneling bust, but a crappy one. It was a $1,500 Ling Baneling bust. That's not a very good Ling Baneling bust. And you shut it down, and then it just put you way ahead. Way ahead. Now at 14 minutes, you're maxed on workers. You got 74, and you're mining really well. And now is that Nidus that I was talking about. He's gonna Baneling Nidus your main. Now, Nidus, in general, if you're going Ling tank, Nidus is good for you. It's good for the Terran. Because what this is doing is putting a bunch of army in your main behind your buildings, so that they have to funnel around your buildings to get to your army. And as long as you don't let him just kill your command center for no reason. Lift the command center, oh my god! Like, as long as you have a reasonable reaction to it, this will never do as much damage as it takes. But you didn't have a very good reaction to it. You kind of overreacted and just A-moved your army in, where you know where he is, you know what he's doing, and you get to kill him at your leisure, right? Because he can't go anywhere. He can't... Like, the strength of the Zerg army is how they can hit you in one place, back up, and hit you in another place, back up. But once they Nidus, they're in your base. That's it. And you just get to kill that force. So what I'd like to see from you is tanks here and here, and then put your Marines here, slightly behind the tanks. Then take like 6 of them and sprint in and hit the Nidus and convince him to attack those 6 Marines. And then your tanks are shooting him as he's attacking 6 Marines. And then take the big group of Marines and just keep them behind your tanks, so that, you know, small group in front, large group in back, tanks in the middle. That's the motto of Marine tank play. Small group in front, large group in back, tanks in the middle. Anyway, you held that off and did a bunch of damage, but he kind of broke even on the Nidus, which should almost never happen. I mean, Niduses are so bad that you should always pull ahead against the Nidus, so I'm disappointed. You've got a... Oh, this was wrong. This was wrong. You had a bunch of idle workers, and instead of hitting Control F1 to select only your idle workers and put them back on your main, you accidentally control-clicked your workers and selected all the workers. So now your natural isn't mining, and everyone's just distance mining from your main instead. That's a mistake. I think hopefully you'll notice that and put these guys back on your natural, but no, it looks like you're going to move them over to your third, which was already fully saturated, which is a little bit weird. This guy's going over to your fourth. Maybe they're going to your fourth, yeah. And you never want to send workers first, because what if he's been camping at your fourth waiting for you to try to take it, and then your workers are the first thing to see it, and he just fungles them and they all die. But whatever, I kind of forgive you. Your money has stayed relatively low all game, though relatively low means, you know, 1,500. So this is good. Not terrible, not great. And you see, this is something we see a lot. The Zerg has 17,000 army spending, and you only have 8. And this is what happens when he does the no upgrade style, like Ling, Baneling, and Fester with no upgrades. And this style is really terrible against double upgrades from the Terrans. So if you had 3-3 right now, which you should, it's 18 minutes in, and you were going for double engineering bay, then the 0-0 Lings would just be laughable. They wouldn't even do damage because they do 5 damage per shot, and Marauders have 4 armor when they're 3-3, so they almost completely don't take damage. So if you get like a couple of Marauders out in front of a huge chunk of Marines, then all the Lings surround the Marauders and don't do any damage, while the Marines in the back just rip them to shreds. So here comes his huge army of Ling, Baneling, and Fester, and if he uses it properly, it should be able to kick your butt. But I kind of doubt he's going to use it properly. I mean, he's spent all game not using his army properly, so what are the odds he suddenly starts using it properly now? So the way you want to engage Baneling-centric Zergs is the way that you're doing it. I mean, you must already know this because you're doing it, and you're doing a great job of it. But you want small group out in front to eat up all the Banelings, and then another group behind that to win after all the Banelings have died. So, like, don't bring these guys out. It's okay to lose your whole army and then have another army. So, pre-spreading your Marines all around the tanks. This is fine. You've been at 200 unit space for a long time, and you're kind of it seems like you're afraid to attack. What I would do at this point is what you're doing is a drop, but you're doing a double medevac single location drop, and against Zerg you never want a single location drop. This is probably going to work pretty well because his whole army is about to attack yours, but that's dumb luck. You sent these medevacs not knowing that the second they arrived the Zerg would be attacking you. But this turns out, dumb luck, to be a great timing for this drop to be landed because he's looking at this attack, rightly so. He needs to look at that attack. And while he looks at that attack, you're just ripping him to shreds. So I think if those same 2 medevacs full of Marines had been dropped, one here and one here, then you would have shut down 2 bases at once, and you would have been only mining it as natural, and that would have been the end of that. So you see how this fight here, he's obviously going to win it, right? You know that ahead of time. Ling Baneling is much more expensive than Marine Tank, and it's kind of like a good counter to Marine Tank. But it's the stretching out of your army and the multiple engage times. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but basically he's going to suicide a bunch of Banelings, and that's going to cost him a ton of money, but in exchange he gets to instantly vaporize your army, and the instant vaporization of your army is what the Zerg is relying on because he can instantly remax, whereas you can't. You have to remax 8 Marines at a time for 4 minutes, whereas he can remax instantly. So he wants to trade his whole army for your whole army and do it inefficiently, but then after that you have no army and he wants to win the game straight away from there while you're trying to remax. And so to counter that, what you want to do is not have your guys all together. Also, you want to pre-spread. This is a really terrible spread. Decent. So these guys right here they're the vanguard of your army and they're terribly spread. That's really bad. So before this fight, you're up 3,000. So now all his Banelings are popping. Pew, pop. And you stim. Don't do that. So what you want to do is stim and hold position. You pre-spread and then hold position because you're not going to have the time in combat to spread. So any movements you do at all are going to reduce your spread rather than increasing it. Like these guys, it would have taken like 6 Baneling splashes to kill them when they were spread out, and now it's only going to take 2. So like these are the guys that I had selected. Look at this. Baneling here, Baneling here, Baneling here, Baneling here. It takes a lot of Banelings to kill those guys when they're pre-spread, but then when you move them, they clump up. They're like, boop. Let's clump up into a little pile, and now it's only going to take 1 fungal or 1 Baneling to kill them. But anyway, you were ahead 3,000 before that fight, and you're ahead 6,000 after the fight. So, like I said, even though he instantly vaporizes your army, you're always going to win that fight with a big lead on damage done. Just because Banelings, they die when they attack you. They're stupid. I mean, and they're awesome, but they're only awesome for a specific reason, and that specific reason is the Zerg's ability to instantly remax and go in after the Banelings have vaporized your army. So as long as you don't lose right afterwards, getting killed by Banelings is usually a cost-effective way of using your army. Just let them kill you. This drop is going to kind of win the game while all this is going on. She should be going home at this point, but he's kind of suiciding, and we just auto-win. Nothing to see here, nothing to see here. So yeah, the 0-0 Lings against 2-2 Marines is always going to be cool. 3-3 Marines are even better. Higher medevac count I would have liked. A much higher medevac count. You have a lot of gas that you could have used on medevacs. I like the double starport instead of a single starport. One with a tech lab, one with a reactor, and then just make 3 medevacs at a time and occasionally throw in a Raven or a Banshee. Definitely needed more racks. You want at least 7 reactored racks, which means that if you don't want to put reactors on all of your racks, you have to get like 9 racks where 2 of them have tech labs or 4 of them have tech labs or something like that. I liked your usage of your tanks. I mean, this has always been a strong suit of yours, is you're really good at positioning your army, using your tanks properly, that kind of stuff. So I liked that in this game, but I'm not surprised to have seen you do such a good job with it. You did forget mules a lot of the time. You were super vulnerable early on to basically anything. Your army size was really struggling until after you secured your 3rd. Your upgrades, you're going double upgrades, and you didn't really go double upgrades. I've seen this every time you've had 2 armories or 2 engineering bays. You never remember to use them. So, you know, remember to use them, man. I don't know what to say about that. And yeah, that's like everything. Oh yeah, drop in multiple places instead of 1. But this was good. Good job.